Once was a land of woe and strife, where the people were bereft of hope. They prayed to their gods of might and light to deliver the heroes of old. Instead they got heroes. Did you hear the quotes in my voice of moral ambiguity? They may help or may not help you at all. Depends on what's in it for them. They kick and they punch and they maul and they smash. They lie and they scheme and they burn and they slash. Succeed or fail, it adds to the tale. Dungeons and Debacle starts now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Dungeons and Debacles podcast. I am your host and dungeon master, Kevin. Going around the room, Hannah.
I'm Hannah, and I'll be playing Talia, the human rogue.
Blake.
I'm Blake, and I'll be playing Juliet, the eldritch knight / wizard Dragonborn.
And Shane.
I'm Shane, I'm playing Alexander, the human bard wizard.
And John.
I am playing Alunodas, Elven monk, and cook.
And Oliver is not here again this week, so I will definitely make sure to kill his character off.
Bet.
So last time on Dungeons and Debacles podcast, you guys made the trip from Asheville to the Bonebreaker camp, also known as the Free Clans of Mount Sunder. There you tried to masquerade as a troop of troubadours and entertainers to try to get into their camp, which was not working too well until Juliet brought up the fact that they had the Bonebreaker sword and they were looking to trade for it. That got you interested into the camp, where you met their chief, who did not believe, first of all, that it was the sword, and then once it was confirmed to be the sword by a shaman, didn't believe that you earned it in combat and that you had stolen it. So after your champion, Adel, faced him in combat, nearly defeating him, you gained a certain amount of respect, and he said that he would treat with you, but not after some rest. So you have been directed to a yurt where you are licking your wounds currently, and he said that he would get back to you later to have a discussion about trading the sword. So that is where you find yourselves now. You're in this yurt. It's getting on towards dusk. You've been provided with some water and some ale and some food. You've got some blankets inside there where you can take a rest. I think Adel is going to spend some hit die to try to get some health back. What's everybody else doing?
Brushing down Buttercup.
I don't think there's anything in particular that I would be wanting here. It's not as if orcs are particularly known for magic or very fine goods.
That's true. You're probably not going to wander out into camp and try to start trading with people.
Yeah, plus I don't really have any money.
You should have quite a bit the last time I checked on your sheet.
I'm pretty sure Talia has a ton of money, but I'm pretty sure I spent all my money on the horses and stuff.
I'm looking up your sheet right now. Or trying to.
Yeah, I'm at like 250 gold.
That's a fortune.
I mean, compared to like the 2,000 that I had before.
Hey, you got to spend some money to make some money, right?
We had 2,000 from the dragon, correct? He spent all of that?
No, that was before you got the horses before the dragon.
I was wondering,
that's how we financed the horses.
2,000 gold pieces.
Yeah.
No, we rode up to there. Like, the dragon was after we got the horses.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I just didn't remember.
It's just that Shane didn't take the money for some reason.
So I'm missing a zero in my accounting, right?
That sounds about right, because I know at least you got the 2,000 from the gem's platinum pieces, and
yeah, I didn't notate that.
So you got some money, but you probably wouldn't be trading anyway.
Yep.
So are you going to come up with some sort of plan before you go in and meet with this chief, now that you kind of know a little bit about the lay of the land?
Yes, Juliet, what was your plan coming in here?
What do you mean, plan?
You wanted to trade the sword? Do you think we'll be able to do that?
I mean, Isn't that how trade works? You say, I want this, they want that, and that's
Well,
that.
they seem to have taken it.
Exactly. We have nothing to worry about.
Other than the fact that you don't have anything to trade with currently.
We have Adel.
And Adel says, what is that supposed to mean?
Oh, it's okay. It'll go back to sleep.
You might get a chance to fight the guy again.
Well, just sell his arms and armor.
I'm just pissed you took my sword. And, you've traded it away, but without asking me first.
What do you mean, without asking you first?
It's my sword.
Well, technically, yes. But since you lost that duel, and we confiscated all your arms and armor and then gave it back to you, I'm not sure you rightly own that.
Well, I bought it. It's mine. And the sword was plunder.
Well, we all worked together to kill those orcs that we took it from.
Right, but nobody asked me first before you decided to trade it away to the half-orcs.
We share and share alike.
I'm just saying I want the sword back.
We'll buy you a brand new sword when we get back.
Oh,
You
but
know,
fam, I like that one.
We
Fine,
might be able to get that one back. We'll see.
fine. And Adel's going to go back to mending some of his armor where it took damage.
So we trade the sword for the belt. Easy as that. I can't imagine there'd be any complications. I mean, what's the worst that happened? They decide they don't want to trade?
You're adorable.
Yeah, they decide they don't want to trade and they don't want to give it back.
That's a good point. What if they don't give it back? Any thoughts?
Well, the best I can do is suggestion or like a major illusion to distract them while we try and finagle the sword and run away.
Talia, you think maybe you could steal it from them?
If I knew where it was and it wasn't going to get me killed, maybe.
Well, we have options.
You've got a pretty good idea that the chief currently has it.
Although the sword is bigger than Talia.
Well, most things are.
Yeah, what's your
Just send me
strength,
with the bag
Talia?
of holding.
8?
Yeah, I'm at 8. It's bad.
Well, we're not asking her to wield it.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, she would be able to like tug on it and get it inside of a bag of holding or something like that. But as best you know right now, the sword is with the chief in his tent.
Okay, so we have magic, we have stealth. Do we have another option?
Cut your way through an angry tribe of half-orcs.
That is an option. We
wait for
can
them to
do
talk
that.
to us.
Stir them up into open warfare.
Yeah, or if the chieftain leaves his tent and leaves the sword in his place, I can just I can use
Disguise self.
disguise self to look like him.
Did
We could
Talia-
always trick him into going to hunt lions and then follow him.
That sounds pretty familiar.
Did Talia actually recommend diplomacy?
I might have.
Nah, that's
I mean, just to wait to see what he says, until we find out exactly how we have to get it back from him.
If you want to be boring, sure. Let's call that plan B. Yeah. Let's work our way through the diplomacy. Yeah, that might be a thing we could do.
I'm a fan of the plans that don't involve us fighting a bunch of things that'll probably kill us. I'm not a fan of diplomacy, but if that's the one that's not going to get me killed, I'll go with that.
Excellent. So we will... Do you think it's wise to leave the tent and find the chieftain, or should we just kind of wait for him? I don't know orc etiquette.
Probably just wait until the morning whenever you said that we would talk about it. I don't really want to cause any ripples while we're here.
Yeah, his lieutenant who led you to this tent basically said, wait here and we'll come for you in a couple of hours.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about getting a meeting with the chief.
But you might maybe need to get your story straight because currently he thinks that Adel is the one who killed the chief on the grass isle and took the sword.
That's
Okay.
kind of true.
Yeah, so let's put it like this. So, interaction with the Kraken, escaped the Kraken, got to the Isles, offered trade, and helped out the orcs on the Isle. After getting good relations with them, we ended up having Adel wanted the sword from him, challenged him to a fight, beat him then, and then we traveled around and ended up here. How does that sound?
Sounds like it would only take a low DC deception check.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Words
All right,
mean things.
You've got point here, Alexander.
So an hour and a half's going to go by, and the half-orc lieutenant who was at the chief's side is going to open the tent flap to your yurt and says, "The chief will parlay with you now." And he's going to motion for you to come.
Destiny awaits, my friends.
No reason not to go.
Let's do this thing.
So you're going to walk outside the yurt, and the sun is fully down now. There are some cook fires and bonfires in the camp that are keeping things pretty well lit. You're also going to notice they've got like torches on poles to illuminate most of the camp. And no Charlottesville jokes, please.
You can do it.
So he's going to lead you the short distance from your yurt across the clearing to a large structure. You think's either the chief's home or some sort of meeting hall. It's about 15 feet tall, and it's made of wood all the way around, and it's got this large canvas tent that's covering it as a roof, and you can see some smoke coming out of the top of it. You're going to walk inside, and there's a large gathering room with a fire burning in the center with some rabbits turning on spits. The floor is wood, and there's animal skin rugs covering most of it. There's tables and chairs inside, and you can see that there's doors on either side of the hall that appear to lead to rooms. There's some oil lamps lighting the corners, and the ceiling is high and made of canvas. There's a hole in the center to let the smoke out. And in the room, towards the back of it, opposite the door, you're going to see the chief lounging on a chair at the center back. And to his right is the shaman you saw earlier, and the large half-orc that came and fetched you is going to walk across the room and sit to the chief's left. What you notice now is the centerpiece of the room is the Bonebreaker sword that is now displayed above the chief's chair, mounted on a rough wood plaque on the wall. And you're going to hear Adel under his breath go, "Motherfucker." So the chief is going to say, "Come sit with us and have a drink." And he's going to point to two low benches near them on a low table with a large pitcher and pewter goblets for each of you. And is everyone going to sit?
Yeah, Alunodas will sit.
So after you sit down, the chief's going to get up from his seat and walk to the pitcher. He's got a visible limp, apparently still recovering from the earlier battle with Adel. And he's going to grab a goblet and pour what appears to be ale into it, and takes a drink and wipes his mouth. And then he's going to hand the goblet to Adel and says, "By God, that was a fine battle, half-dwarf. Almost as good as the one I had with the former chief when I battled him for leadership. You should be proud. What's your name? I'll need it for the tale of this day." And Adel's going to reach out and take the cup and say, Adel Belmont. And then Adel's going to take a long drink out of the cup. And then the chief's going to take his seat again and takes up his own goblet and takes a long swig. And the chief's going to say, "So, I would hear the story about how you earned Bonebreaker's sword."
Well, that tale is best told by our bard.
I have a brooch, so I have do I have that +1 to charisma?
I think
You
that's
also
what
have
Alunodas has.
The +1 to
What?
wisdom and charisma? Because I'm pretty sure I have the brooch. It says I have it equipped on my thing.
No, I think that Alunodas has been wearing that. Isn't that right, John?
I do not know. It would make sense for me to have a wisdom thing, but not necessarily a charisma thing.
Wasn't that how your AC got to 18?
Possibly. I know. I think it was Dex.
Yeah, so I'm about to give a depiction of like how we ended up getting here.
Oh, I do have the brooch. Yes. And robes, but no other thing.
You can always give yourself inspiration before you do anything, too.
I would like to do that. I am inspired.
What do you do to inspire yourself?
I play in my head. I'm just playing.
Come on, Gil! Come on, Gil!
I want to say a reference to Eminem, like "Lose Yourself," just playing over and over in my head. Like whenever he's in the bathroom in the back in 8 Mile. I'm just lost in the sauce right now. I got so many fucking words on this document. Okay, so I've got +2 to performance. Sure, so I'm inspired. My inspiration is gives me plus 1d6 to roll. It is a d6. Nice.
That says 1d7.
No, the 1d7 is just because I thought it'd be funny. Like, at what point do you find a 1d7 in, like, an actual real-life thing?
There's a physicist somewhere working on it.
It was a joke for myself, but I thought that at some point one of you guys would bring it up, so I would have to explain it, which I think is comedic. So we were traveling from the across the sea as our group here to try and get some adventures underneath our belt, and as we were traveling, we came across a grave kraken that came up from the sea and tried to sink our vessel. So should I roll as I'm going through it?
No, we can do it towards the end. But you're going to talk about the you're going to say the kraken, and the chief's eyes are going to get large, and you see him lean in like he's like, yes, go on.
Tentacles coming up from all sides trying to take people into the sea. And eventually we were able to fight it off through probably about half an hour of combat with its tentacles while it's trying to sink the vessel. And after we gave a decisive blow to some of its tentacles, it scampered off back into the sea, but our vessel was left rendered unusable, so we traveled to a nearby island, which happened to be the Isles, home of the Bonebreaker camp. So we went onto the sea through a small ship, got to the camp, and we interacted with the orcs there, and they decided to help us out. In return, we would pay them for the services, of course. And after that, we stayed there for a little while, helped them hunt, helped the chief do a couple missions, help him throughout. And whenever we were on our latter half of being there and our ship was almost repaired, Adel decided that he wanted the sword from the chieftain and decided to challenge him to a duel, which took about, what was it, Adel? About 8 hours combat?
That sounds about right.
Fighting for 8 hours into the night, and then Adel came out on top and won the sword from the chieftain. And then after our ship got finished up, we made our way, started sailing back again, and found our way over here. At which point we got caught up with some local politics. Well, not politics, but the local politicians trying to take advantage of the people, and then made our way over here to escape from them.
Okay, so that's a 14.
And then I will use my inspiration. So 14 plus 4, so 18.
So you're going to finish your tale, and the chief's going to say, that's absolutely amazing. That's definitely a tale for the ages. And you say, this half-dwarf fought the chief for 8 hours? The stamina that must have took. And Adel's going to cross his arms and just nod and not say anything. And the chief's totally enraptured by this story. And he's going to look at the shaman and say, were you taking notes? And the shaman's going to nod. So you get done with the tale. He's going to say, well, now down to business. You say you came to trade the sword for Bonebreaker's girdle?
Correct.
And he's going to kind of like bow his head for a little bit and say, I'm sorry, but that's not something I can trade to you, because I don't have it.
Where is it?
It's up in his tomb in Mount Sunda.
Great. So we'll be taking our sword and leaving then. Thank you.
He says, don't get me wrong. If you can get it, you can have it, and you have my permission to enter the tomb. I don't care about it, nor does anyone else here. To tell you the truth, though, I don't think it even exists. Just some Bonebreaker wives' tales about dangers of magic and hubris and such. From all the tales I've heard, Borsch was a magic-cheating twat. All those elves' tales puff up the saviors. Borsch was just probably lying about the whole thing from what I've heard.
Well, I hope you're wrong, because we would like that a lot. But we're certainly not here to challenge you or your people with it, so...
So he's going to say, so, we have a problem. You want to trade me the sword for the girdle, but you can't get the girdle without the sword.
We can't have the sword back, and then we can't have the girdle on top of that.
Well, here's the problem. There's some sort of magic up there that you can't get into the tomb. I've never been up there to try, but that's what I've heard. Isn't that right, Shaman Ferric? And the shaman's going to say, yes, there's some sort of wall that prevents anyone from entering without the sword. I've been there myself, and there's an invisible wall that prevents anyone from entering. It's been sealed up since part of his clan left our enclave some 2,900 years ago. It used to be our stronghold up there, back in the days when we sought shelter from the Ruin's wrath. After Ruin was banished, we moved the camp down here, to this stronghold. His tomb was only used in the most dire of circumstances, such as weather or attacks, up until our time our ancestors abandoned it. Well, after the deep came alive. I don't know what that means, but the legends say monsters came up from the deep below inside the volcano and attacked our tribes. One of Borsch's apprentices sealed up the stronghold with magic to lock them inside and prevent them from attacking our camp. There's still some Bonebreakers here with us, but they've long since diminished in power and numbers.
Okay, so do you have a proposition of how we can get inside without the sword, or is there a way that we can, like, give you some sort of collateral for the sword as we use it to get into the tomb?
So he's going to say, well, here's the part you aren't going to like. You can't get the girdle without the sword, and without the sword you have nothing to trade. And without anything to trade, I don't know that we have anything else to discuss.
Do you have no use for gold?
Not really, but I'll be willing to listen.
Name your price. How much would you want as collateral for the sword?
He says, I don't need collateral for the sword. The sword's already mine. And he's going to take his thumb and point up to the plaque on the wall. He says, I bested you a champion in honorable combat.
You bested our champion during a contest to prove that he was strong enough to have taken the sword, not for the right to take and keep the sword for yourself.
Tomato, tomato. What use do you have with it? This is a birthright for our clans. It's just a hunk of adamantine to you.
Among other things, we need to use it to get into Bonebreaker's tomb.
Yeah, using it to enter the tomb is the only purpose that we really have it for. Other than that, it's all yours. At least on our side.
I don't suppose you'd want some books? I have this nice dwarven one and this one for... Oh, that's for Orcs of Age.
So he's going to wave his hand off that he's like, no, I don't want the books.
Perhaps you send somebody with us, use it to unseal the tomb for us, and then we head inside, and your orc brings it back to you while we take care of our business in the tomb.
I could do that, but what's to say you just wouldn't murder whoever went with you and tuck the sword and the girdle both?
Because we don't even want the sword outside of just going into the tomb. Any sword will do.
At that point, you're going to hear Adel clear his throat.
Although if you could give our companion a nice sword to make up for the one you just took, that would be nuts.
We can pay you for the work of the sword.
He says, I could probably sell you the sword, but it's not going to be an adamantine piece like this.
Whatever works.
And then you're going to hear you're going to see the shaman start whispering something into the chief's ear.
Alexander, what weapon did Adel use? Because we could trade that as the sword that slew Bonebreaker.
Then we sell that.
That's not important.
Adel actually sold that great cell to get the sword.
I know.
Pick.
Wouldn't it be great if we had a weapon that did slay him? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I am going to look at the particulars of the spell.
So the shaman's actually going to, after he's going to talk to the chief for a second, and then the chief's going to look at you and says, I don't know that this is agreeable. I don't know what else we have to discuss. You can stay here tonight out of respect for your champion, but I expect you gone by midday tomorrow.
Before we go, you have your differences with the city to the south, don't you?
Yes, they've been attacking our clans. They've been taking our livestock and burning some of our fields.
That doesn't sound like a very good deal for you. What if we could do something about that? Negotiate peace, or maybe prepare for war?
He's going to say peace, and he's going to spit on the floor. He says, I don't need any peace with them. If they want to fight, bring it.
Now that's what I like to hear.
But what can a bunch of troubadours do to help me fight? Looks like the half-dwarf's the only one who can swing a sword among your group.
Juliet hangs her head in shame. 6'2" Dragonborn looks like a pussy.
Well, it's well known that most townsmen are cowards. What if we convinced them to come out and fight you?
You think they're going to face us in an open field and battle? They're still trying to blame it on this dragon cult for all these attacks, which is ridiculous.
Yes, they probably just want to take your land, think they can use it better than you.
Obviously.
What say you, Juliet? Or do you think we could convince the townsfolk to come out and fight?
Convince is one way to put it. It's not exactly like we can walk up. Hello, would you like to fight? Like you said, they're cowards. They just sit inside. Really, the only way I see getting to them is with a hard punch. But I don't know. You tend to be good at diplomacy. You tell me.
I'm not great at diplomacy. I prefer punching too. Alexander?
We can figure something out.
Well, we have to figure something out now.
I mean, we can just go up there and we have enough resources capable, whether it through my magic or Talia's roguish skill set, to do something to spark something off.
Or, Great Chief, you could send several orcs with us to Bonebreaker's tomb. That way you could be assured we wouldn't betray you. A reasonable precaution.
He says that may work. And about that time, you're going to hear some hard footsteps on this wood floor behind you, and hear some panting. And you're going to turn around and see the half-orc you saw earlier outside the gates when you came in. He has a sunken cheek, and he was the one that led the group of half-orcs out of the gate and down the trail when you told him about that force that you saw earlier on the trail that was attacking half-orcs. And he's panting hard, and you can see he has cuts and dried blood running down his arms and his face. And the chief is going to rise up from his chair and say, "What's the meaning of this?" And the half-orcs is panting, trying to catch his breath, and he says, "I ran all the way here. I barely escaped to warn you. They wiped us out, all 30 warriors, in seconds. They tried to parlay when some of our platoon broke off and charged. We could barely get our weapons out before they overwhelmed us." And the chief's going to scream, "Who did this?" And the half-orc's going to say, "It was a silver dragonborn, and a dozen knights on horses, and mages. I court the mages. I don't know how many wizards they had. It was a lot, and magic was flying everywhere." And the chief's going to say that they killed them all. And Hammerface is going to fall to his knees exhausted and say, "No, I think they're still alive. They were fighting to subdue. They're headed here. You have to rally the clans now." And the chief and the shaman and the other half-orc are going to take off running through the door into the clearing outside. And you hear the chief yelling and commands in the camp as they begin rallying to defend against this attack. And they have seemingly ignored you and left you in the room with that, in this hall with Hammerface, who's now lying on his back, gasping air, still trying to recover from his run.
Fighting to subdue. Sounds like they want to take you all as slaves.
I don't know. Right now, Hammerface is the only one in the room with you. Everybody else is outside, like, trying to form a defense.
Where's the sword?
The sword is currently still on that rough wood plaque at the back of the room.
Well, that paladin guy that he was talking about seems mighty familiar, like a prophecy that we may have heard. So I look at Juliet. So are you thinking what I'm thinking?
That we avoid Kul at all costs?
I think so.
That and the object of our venture is right in the wall right there.
Oh, well, yes. It's clearly still Adel's.
Of course.
Although we should make sure to distract witnesses. Half-orc, perhaps you should go advise your clan leader. Let him know what details you can recall, so that they know what they can expect and how we can best arrange defenses.
He's going to say, I just need a minute. I ran all the way here.
I'm gonna bring him a cup of something liquid to drink. Doesn't really matter what.
Okay, there's some ale in front of you.
Yep, I'll bring him that, to speed him on his way and help him recover faster.
Okay, so you take it, and he sets up a little bit, and he downs the ale, and he's still just incredibly out of breath. Adel is going to get up, and he is going to cross the room and take the Bonebreaker greatsword from the wall and put it across his back and says, I don't know about you, but I think we should get out of here now.
I agree.
Correct.
Yes.
So he is going to walk outside.
Well, let's go.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you all walk out into the courtyard, and you see the camp is in disarray. There's men and women and children are gathering arms and armor, and they're massing near the southern gate where you came in. Adel's going to go over, and he is going to take his horse and make sure it's ready to go, and gather the other horses that you guys took from the Ashfell Knights.
Alexander, do you think you could try starting a rumor that they're here to take slaves? Increase the
Why?
disarray, increase the odds that they'll fight and kill as many of these Ashfellians as possible?
I mean, they would probably do that anyway, since you're trying to fight as honorably as possible and just fight to the death.
Now, why don't we take our discretion and simply sneak out of here?
Yeah, there's no one looking over you. Let's go.
Okay, so
I'm just hoping an army of half-orcs can be convinced to kill Kul for us.
Turin is going to get on his horse, and he's going to say to you, there's a northern gate. I say we probably head that way if we're going to avoid Kul.
Northgate sounds good to me.
So he's going to kick his horse into action, and then right about that time, as you guys are getting ready to take off, you hear a tremendous explosion, like a dozen fireballs hitting the southern gate all at once. And you're going to look back and see this eruption of flame as the gate explodes inward into the camp in flaming splinters, and the ground rumbles, and you can see many half-orcs who were gathered near the gate were thrown to the ground from the force of the explosion. And after the dust settles and your eyes adjust a little bit from the brightness of the explosion, because you're in darkness, you can see in the glow of the now flaming entrance a silver Dragonborn in full plate armor on a tall white war horse, flanked by about a dozen knights in gleaming breastplate outside the gate. And then you're going to see this magical light spring up all around them, and now you see 50 more knights on war horses spread out around the Dragonborn, and behind them you see at least a dozen battle mages. And then you're going to hear this booming, unnaturally loud voice say,
Free clans of Mount Sunder, I am Kul, Paladin of Bahamut, champion and vanguard of the Zaydars. I am here to parlay. Bring unto me your chief to treat, and no one shall be harmed.
And then you're going to look around inside the gate and see hundreds of half-orcs gathering, and you think it must be most of the town, and they're stunned and not moving at all. That this is the definition of shock and awe. And then you see the chief walking towards the gate with the shaman, and you hear him yell, I'm here, you shiny lizard. I will hear you and your companions will be paying for my gate with gold or steel by cord. Clans prepared to defend. And then you basically see all these spears and swords come up at the same time.
No need to stand on ceremony. Let's go.
Yep, sounds like our notice that we should get going before he search too much.
I'm not trying to be within the visual range of that guy.
Alright, so you guys are going to follow Turin, and he is going to follow this path towards the north where he knows that there's a gate. As you're going, you can see for the most part there's little streams of half-orcs who are late to the party, running towards the southern gate with their weapons. If you look on the... is everybody in Roll20?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you're coming from where I'm pinging right here towards the center of the camp. He's taking you up through here by the stream that runs in till you get to the northern part of the camp where there's a gap in the hills, and you're going to see an extension of this wooden fence that runs all the way around the camp. It's about 15 feet tall. It's made out of logs and has spike points. And as you near the gate, you're going to see that you're probably about 50 feet or so away from it, and you're going to see a bunch of half-orcs guarding it. As you approach this gate, are you just going for it, or what are you going to try to do?
Tell them about the attack on the south gate. Slavery. Die.
So we're coming up to them.
Yeah, and it looks like Turin's not really stopping or slowing down. He's headed towards the gate.
Okay. As we get near them, I'm gonna yell at them that there is a invasion on the south gate and they need assistance.
And these three half-orcs are just going to look at each other, and then they're going to pull out their long swords and say, "Our duty is to defend this gate. Who are you?"
We are the chosen of the chieftain. He told us to preserve this side of the gate and let you all advance towards the front.
Give me a persuasion roll.
This is going to end poorly.
Yeah.
What?
So they're going to laugh. Chosens of the chief. And they're kind of like bent over in laughter.
All right, Talia, what do you think, Fog Cloud?
I'm not sure that would really be helpful here, but perhaps if we simply tell them about the giant silver dragonborn that is attacking all of their people and killing their women and children inside of the gate.
Alexander, you're the persuasive one.
I'm just looking at my spell list real quick. I got all these spells and not really a lot of ways to use them. Wait, so would they have heard the explosions over there?
Oh yeah, and they're on guard. They've got the gate up here closed and the bar over top of it, which you've noticed before that like they've had their gates open. So it looks like they're on high alert. And currently they've got their long swords out and their shields up.
I yell at them to hurry to the north gate, or else there might not be a gate to defend. I'm going to try and
South gate?
invade them.
Wow, that's a 23. So what are you saying to them?
I'm telling them that if they don't hurry up to the south gate, there's not going to be any gates to defend.
All right. So you're going to say that, and they're all going to look at each other, and then they're going to take off running to the south gate.
I still think you should have gone with the chosen ones.
I mean, they weren't believing you, so what makes you think me saying it would change their mind?
Well, you're, fancy.
All right. So they're out of the way, and there's currently no one guarding this north gate.
Sprint through the gate?
It is currently closed.
Let's open it.
All right. So
Open the gate.
you're going to go up to it, and there's this large plank that's threaded through these iron hoops that's keeping it closed, and there's a large iron padlock on it.
Adel, this is a time for you to shine.
So Adel's going to go up to the gate then, and he is going to pull out that Bonebreaker greatsword and take a swing at this lock. And from horseback, he's going to miss it.
The horse is nervous after the explosion, that's all.
Yep, and he'll take another swing at it. He misses it again.
Maybe he's drunk.
Nice.
He misses it again.
Maybe just take 20.
just get off the horse and hit it.
So, yeah, he's going to get down off the horse and walk up to it and take the great sword in both hands, and he's just going to demolish this lock. He's able to move this large plank bolt out of the way and push the gates open.
And now we ride through.
Okay, so you ride through, and you are hearing some shouts and screams from the southern side of the camp that you don't even need a perception check for that, because it's pretty loud. But I guess everybody's hightailing it out of this camp.
Do we want to light any fires before we leave?
That sounds like a dark companion thing to do.
Well, first we should close the door.
Close the door behind you.
Yep, that way it's obvious. It's not obvious where we went. Then we can set a fire. Although I suppose that would defeat the purpose of closing doors. But still.
Why do we need to close the gate? It'll just make it easier for them to go by it.
But it'll make it easier for them to... Well, what do you mean don't close the gate?
I'm saying close the gate, but don't burn down the gate.
Oh, but if we don't burn down the gate, then what have we accomplished in life? What would Tiamat think?
What do you mean? There's literally no upside to burning down the gate.
That's a good point. What would Tiamat do?
Exactly.
Probably not burn down the gate.
Probably burn down all of the gates.
Let's just go to the mountain because there's a person coming for our lives probably right now.
No. God damn it, I'm burning down this gate. Give me a second. Juliet's gonna get off her horse and use her breath weapon to set this gate on fire.
Adel's gonna be like, yeah, fam.
See, I got points with Adel. It's worth.
Advancing your romance with Adel?
Oh, God.
It's going renegade path. So, are you using your fire breath to try to set this fort on fire?
Yes.
Alright, give me a damage roll.
9 fire damage.
Alright, so I guess you're doing this from horseback?
No, I said I got off the horse. I'm not going to risk burning Kovac.
Alright, so you open your mouth and this spray of flames comes out, bathing the exterior of this. I guess you're hitting the fence, or are you hitting the gate with it?
Whichever is flimsier. I assume the gate.
Yeah, the gate would be. So you hit it in this one spot, and it looks like it's on fire, but it may take some time to catch to the rest of it.
Does anyone have oil? Anything?
Don't we have
I don't know. How about we not burn it down and just leave?
Damn it! Don't take this from me.
Take what from you? You're literally doing nothing. You're wasting your ability and combat readiness just so you can burn down a gate for no good reason.
And Turin's
Anything
going to
to add
say...
confusion is a good thing.
Turin's going to say, well, yeah, we'll add to confusion, but let's quit fucking around and get out of this before we draw more attention to ourselves from the half-orcs.
Okay.
Sigh. Let's go.
So Adel's going to get back on his horse, and I guess you're going to get back on your horse too, Juliet?
Yes.
Okay, so Turin's going to kick his horse and lead you up this path towards Mount Sunder. And even in the dark, it's not hard to miss it. There's some moon glow that's hitting the peaks of snow on top of this thing. Plus, you can see some of the gas and steam being emitted from the top of this volcano being reflected in the moonlight. So you're going to travel probably about 5 miles through the dark on this path, and I'm going to need everybody to give me a survival check.
Survival?
Booyah, 16.
4.
8.
1.
Well, lucky for you all, Turin got a 20.
My 16 wasn't shabby.
No, it also wasn't a 20. You're following this path, and after a while, it's going to kind of be not so pathy anymore. There's going to be some grass that grows up through it. With the horses, you can't really tell that you're on a path anymore, but Turin's going to get down off his horse and start kicking the grass around some and pulling some up, and he's able to find some like crushed stone and gravel to where it looks like this is kind of an ancient path that has been overgrown. This is going to be much slower going now because he's having to like checking this path on foot, but he's leading you through the darkness you can't really tell that it's a path. It's between the mountains, but there's nothing obvious that says that it's a path. After a while, you're going to make it to the side of Mount Sunder. Does everybody see the map?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so you've left the Bonebreaker camp here. He's taking you up through these hills outside the gate, and currently you are up here against the side of Mount Sunder. Currently, it's probably about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and he is just basically still trying to follow this path through here. and looking, through the vegetation and, ivy and ground cover that's grown up on the side of this mountain, trying to look for any sort of entrance. And let me give one more survival check. Does everybody want to give me a survival check or a perception?
So rare that anyone would beat me.
23.
All right, so Alunodas and Shane critted this. After probably maybe 2.5 hours or so of following around this mountain, you are going to see kind of like an outcropping that's kind of hanging out hanging out of the mountain that doesn't look natural, and it has some vines hanging down from it. So it's kind of like not disguised, but the overgrowth's kind of hidden it. As you get closer, you're going to notice that there's kind of a recess back into the mountain.
All right, looks like we found the tomb, perhaps.
That is an interesting recess, but are you sure it's not just a tube? Like one of those things that what do they call them? Geologists?
Are you talking about like a lava tube?
Yes.
That was actually my first major with geology.
There you go.
Well, then let's check it out and see.
All right, so Turin's going to take his. He's got a long knife, kind of like a Bowie knife, and he's going to start cutting through these vines to open up this entrance. He cuts it open, and he's going to walk about 2 feet inside of it, and he's going to bounce off what appears to be thin air.
Probably not a lava tube.
And he's going to take his knife and stab at it, and it's just going to be deflected.
Adel, why don't you try walking through?
So Adel's going to get down off his horse and find a place to tie it to a tree. He's going to walk up to it and stick his hand out, and when he sticks his hand out, it's going to hit this invisible barrier and block him.
Use the sword, Luke. Adel.
So he'll take the sword off his back, and he'll slowly push it forward towards where the barrier was, and when it gets to there, there's no resistance. It doesn't stop.
All right. Did that permanently open it, or just for him?
He will walk through and get to the other side. Are you going to try to walk through it?
Touch it. Alunodas will try and go through.
Okay, when you try to go through it, you run into the wall again.
Damn it. All right. So maybe Adel stands there with his sword half in the barrier while the rest of us come through. How big is this entrance? Can we bring the horses and cart inside, or do we have to leave them outside?
The entrance to this thing is probably about 10 feet wide and 8 or 9 feet tall.
Oh, so we can bring the animals inside.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to ride them inside, but you would be able to bring it inside.
Okay, good. That way, the less obvious it is that we came in this way, the better.
So Adel will hold up the sword, and as long as that appears to be, as long as the sword is breaking that plane where that wall is, you can pass through.
Nice.
We are inside.
All right, so I guess everybody's walking inside the tomb?
Yes.
All right, well, I think that's probably a pretty good place to end it. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dungeons and Debacles podcast. If I could ask a halfling-sized favor, give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It's the best way to support us. New episodes come out every Monday, so make sure to check your podcast app. Do you have an idea to make the podcast better? Tell us about it on Twitter or Facebook. You can also check out our website to see all the maps, lore, and characters at dungeonsanddebacklespodcast.com. And now a word from our fantasy sponsor. Do you want to make more gold? Of course, we all do. Find out how easy it is to do with your Journeyman certification with the Carly Institute Correspondence School. You can train for a new trade without setting foot in a classroom. Choose from any of these courses: livery, weapon and armor repair, Bowery Fletcher, leather tanning, blacksmithing, child daycare, cart management, bookkeeping, law assistant, dentist, bloodletting, and inn management. Or get your specialized degree in arcana, alchemy, herbalism, or cartography. Compare your current salary with the gold you could be making in any one of these careers. Send a raven to Carly Vocational Correspondence School to start your quest for a better life.
Out of character and a bit out of context, I came to a realization about something yesterday. They're called bartenders because they tend to the bar. It makes a lot of sense.
That's a good blooper reel. I like that.
I was walking because the pizza place I would go to on base has a bar in it, and I was walking past and I'm like, oh, there's the bartender. Wait a minute, bartender. He tends to the bar. It all makes a lot of sense. Whew.
Yeah, that's actually something that Molly Gennaro, a.k.a. McLean, says early on in Die Hard. Says to her pregnant friend, that baby's ready to tend bar. I didn't understand that for years, because the first time I saw that movie, I was like 6.
Or if the bar has a fireplace, it could be a reference to the tending to start the fire at the bar.
Probably not.
It's a long shot.
Yeah, it's kind of a stretch.
You miss 100 jokes you don't take,
100% of the jokes you don't take.
Exactly.
So, anywho, take your time. I can edit it out.
Yep. So I'm just gonna, since you said that, I'm just gonna sit here for about the next 45 minutes trying to figure this out. I'm gonna go re-listen to all of our podcasts leading up to this moment, so I have a very accurate depiction of what to say. I'll even put citations at the end. MLA format, of course.
And before you tell the tale, you hand him a bibliography.
Yeah, here's my bibliography and resume.
The music you heard on this episode was Long Road Ahead, River Fire, Prelude in Action, Failing Defense by Kevin MacLeod and Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. CreativeCommons.org/licenses/by/3.0.